Today, we're diving into the story of Mukula. And it's a fascinating one because it starts in a place you might not expect, a farm in rural Kenya, and ends up right at the cutting edge of financial technology. It's all about a problem that needed solving and a huge opportunity just waiting to be harvested. And that brings us right to the heart of things, risk. This quote from Mark Zuckerberg really nails it because the entire world of finance, of lending, is built around managing risk. But what happens when the very system for measuring that risk is, well, broken for millions and millions of people? So, first things first, let's dig into the problem itself. And this isn't some abstract, theoretical challenge. No, this is a daily reality for the very people who grow the food that ends up on our tables. The founder of Mukula, Francis Onyango, he didn't just read about this problem in a book. He lived it. Growing up in Saya, he saw his own community, his own family, all these incredibly hardworking farmers, pouring everything they had into their land. And yet, when they needed a loan to grow their business, to buy better seeds or fertilizer, the doors to the bank were just slammed shut. And this isn't just happening in one village. Let's try to wrap our heads around the scale here. The financing gap, the amount of money farmers need but can't get, is estimated to be as high as $65 billion every single year. That's not just a gap, that's a chasm of missed opportunity. So why is this happening? Well, it all boils down to a fundamental mismatch. It's like they're speaking two completely different languages. On one hand, you have traditional lenders. They want to see collateral, a nice clean financial history, a steady paycheck. But on the other hand, you have the reality for a small farmer. They don't have formal collateral, their financial history is a patchwork of cash deals and mobile money, and their income, it comes in big lumps when they sell their harvest, not every 2 weeks. The system just wasn't built for them. But here's the thing about a huge, seemingly impossible problem. For the right person, it also looks like a huge opportunity, a blank canvas even. And that brings us to the innovator at the heart of our story. Meet Francis Onyango. Armed with a master's degree in data science, he looked at that same paradox he grew up with. And he saw something different. He saw a problem that could be harvested, a challenge just waiting for the right tools and the right mindset. I love this description of him. He's been called an artist with data. And that is the perfect way to think about his approach. Because he doesn't just see code and spreadsheets. He sees the patterns, the stories, the human element hidden inside the numbers, things that everyone else was missing. So, what are an artist's tools in the 21st century? Well, they might look a little different. To most of us, words like Python, random forests, or neural networks sound pretty technical, right? But for Onyango, this is his palette. Think of Python and R as his brushes. SQL is how he preps the canvas. And these machine learning techniques, those are his actual painting styles, each one used to create a totally new picture of a person's creditworthiness. Now, let me tell you, building this vision was not a walk in the park. Onyango's journey really embodies this quote from Stephen Hawking. He had to hustle. He self-funded the entire platform by taking on side gigs and data consulting jobs. This took more than just technical skill. It took grit, belief, and the pure intelligence to adapt and just find a way to make it happen. Okay, so we have the artist and his tools. But how does he actually create the masterpiece? Let's get into how Mukula actually takes all this scattered data and transforms it into real-world opportunity. So at its core, Mukula 360 is what you'd call an agri-fintech platform. But here's what it really is. It's a translator. It takes the messy, complex, informal reality of a farmer's life, and it translates it into a language that banks can finally understand, and more importantly, trust. It turns all that noise into a clear bank-grade signal. And how does it do that? By building a complete 360-degree picture. The platform looks at 34 different data points across these 4 key areas. It's looking at production data, like how much land they farm. It pulls in transaction data from things like their mobile money usage. It even looks at behavioral and environmental data, like local weather patterns. It pulls everything together to see the whole person. And this is where it gets really, really clever. The source material calls this a kind of psychological jujitsu. Instead of seeing the fragmented data as a weakness, the system uses the power of that fragmentation to solve the problem. Every little piece of scattered information, which on its own means nothing, becomes a strength when you put it all together. It actually builds a much richer, more accurate picture than a simple credit report ever could. All right, the technology is brilliant, the philosophy is smart, but does it actually work? I mean, what's the tangible, real-world impact of all this innovation?
Well, the answer is a resounding yes. Check this out. In a pilot with 2 SACCOs, which are basically local member-owned credit unions, the results were just undeniable. The lenders who used Mkulima score to assess farmers saw their loan repayment rates jump by an incredible 37%. That's not a small bump. That is a game changer. And here's why that number is so important. It sets off this amazing chain reaction. Suddenly, lenders are more confident, right? So they give out more credit. That farmer who was locked out before now gets a loan. That means they can buy better seeds, afford fertilizer, maybe invest in irrigation. That leads to a bigger, better harvest. And a bigger harvest means more income to pay for school, for healthcare, for a more secure future. It's a win for the lender, a life-changing win for the farmer, and a huge boost for the whole community. So as you can probably see, this is way bigger than just one successful app. This is a blueprint. It's a model for the future. So let's zoom out and think about what this really means. The source describes Onyango as a cheetah in Kenya's Silicon Savannah, and man, is that a perfect image. It just captures the speed, the agility, and the imaginative risk-taking that defines this new generation of innovators in Africa who are solving local problems with world-class technology. And that really brings us full circle, back to this idea of Francis Onyango being an artist. It leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about. What if Michelangelo were alive today? Would his canvas be a ceiling in a chapel, or would it be a screen? Would he be using paint and plaster, or would he be using Python to create something that doesn't just inspire us, but actually empowers millions of people? It's a powerful thought to end on.